else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
Ha, so it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at iWitnessBullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome in to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you here, going until 11 a.m. Eastern on this gorgeous Thursday morning, the first day of July. June has flown by. I am praying to Mother Nature. I guess to Father Time. I'm not sure which one I should focus my thoughts and prayers on, but that July and August slow down. June flew by. July 4th this weekend. I hope we can enjoy summer and not look back here in what feels like a week or so and say, wow, already, Labor Day weekend is here and summer's over. Love summer. Hopefully we can slowly get by July and August, have a great summer, and work our way into the fall when football does return. Before that, though, right, because we are still a long ways away from football, we have a lot of basketball news to get into here. The Suns are the first team to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. Chris Paul making his first Finals appearance. We'll get into that. Bucks-Hawks game number 5 tonight. Giannis doubtful. Trae Young status up in the air with that foot injury. Who has the advantage? I will tell you. 20 minutes from now at 9:20 Eastern. A lot of NFL news to get into as well. Who, or should I say, which quarterback has the most approved this season? I'll tell you my answer as well. Top 5 teams that missed the playoffs in 2020 that will make the playoffs in 2021. What's the word is back this week as well. A lot to get into between now and 11 a.m. Eastern. As always, love to get you involved in the show. Love to hear your thoughts about whatever is going on in the sports world. You can comment on any topic we're talking about today on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or at Ryan Hickey Show, both those Twitter handles right there. And on YouTube, we are streaming live Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So a ton of different ways to get involved with the show. Watch a show on those platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Also comment right there as well. Nice and simple, just like we like to make it for you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As a reminder, we're coming to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios. Whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners, check out BigItalyPizza.com for a location near you. So we will start with last night's game. We will start with the Phoenix Suns. Just like we all predicted coming into the season, and just like we all predicted coming to the postseason, the Phoenix Suns are the first team to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. They defeat the Clippers 130-103 in game number 6. And look, the talking points this morning on this show, on any of your favorite talk shows, TV shows, sports shows, will be about Chris Paul, and deservingly so. The man has had a 16-year career filled with a ton of highs, a ton of individual accomplishments. That one missing piece for him was a ring, and at least now, for the first time in his career, he gets to chase that truly by making the NBA Finals for the first time in his career. And I thought Game 6 last night was poetic justice, not just for Chris Paul's career, but also for the NBA. Let's start with Chris Paul, right? Because like I just mentioned, he has had an insanely successful 16-year run as one of the best point guards to ever play the game of basketball. The one thing, right, the only thing missing from his resume was making the NBA Finals. And not only was it cool and awesome last night to watch him finally check that off his list, right, finally make the NBA Finals, finally get that proverbial monkey off his back, if you will. Not only is he getting there, he is the reason why the Suns are getting there, right? Like, he's not just along for the ride. He was the driver of the train yesterday, and a major reason why the Suns won Game 6, a major reason why the Suns are moving on to the first NBA Finals since 1993. Because last night, he tied a career playoff high, dropping 41 points. 41. Turning back the clock. You would have thought he was 23, not 36. But not only did he score and tie a career playoff high with 41 points in a closeout game to send the Suns to the finals, he also scored 31 of those 41 points in the second half, which not only obviously that's huge to help the Suns advance, the 31 points is the most points he's ever scored in a half his entire career. He has never scored 31 points ever in his career in a playoff game, in a regular season game in one half, and he did so last night. He did so in the second half last night to send the Suns to the finals. Poetic justice. A guy who's accomplished a lot. He has bounced around. He's been a good teammate from everything that you hear firsthand account from other teammates. He has done things, and he has kind of been the leader and the catalyst for a lot of different teams that have come up short in the postseason. And then with the game on the line, as the Clippers are making a run, Chris Paul not only steps up with 31 second half points, he puts the Suns on his back. He scored 27 out of the final 35 points the Suns scored last night as a team. He not only, again, was just along for the ride, he is a major reason, he is the reason why the Suns are going to the NBA Finals. And you look too, right? Because Chris Paul, I think you can make the argument, throughout his team's playoff career, they have been known to come up short. We'll get into those pitfalls in a second. But now you look, closing game in game number 4, where he scored 37 points to finish off the Nuggets in the second round of the Western Conference semifinals. Now he drops 41 points in the closeout game in Game 6 against the Clippers to send the Suns to the finals. He is now the oldest player in NBA history to score 35 or more points in consecutive series-clinching victories. So again, he is the reason, which is part of the reason why it's so poetic justice, that Chris Paul is making the finals for the first time in his career as a member of the Suns, doing so in a building that he used to dominate in the Staples Center as a member of the Clippers for 6 years. It is the perfect fitting and perfect way to send Chris Paul to the finals. Him being the reason. Him being the catalyst to do so. His storied career. And again, let's just kind of dive into some of the accomplishments here, right? Because we can say he's had a great career. Let's put that into context in case you're not up to date with the numbers or you're not 100% sure. So 16 years he's been in the NBA. He's been an 11-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 9-time All-Defensive Team. He won the assist, or he was the assist leader in the NBA 4 different times. He was a 6-time steal champion. So again, led the NBA in steals 6 different years. All of that, again, is all-time numbers. One of the best to ever play the point guard position. And we have seen a ton of legendary Hall of Fame all-world point guards. And Chris Paul is in that conversation with Magic Johnson, with Isaiah Thomas. He is there. He is in the top 5, if you will. And really, the only thing missing, again, we talked about before, from Chris Paul's career was a championship, was a ring. And when we talk about rings and championships, especially in the NBA, because that is, although it's a team sport, right, the most individual-driven team sport, if you right. Baseball, the Angels have Mike Trout. They've went to 3 playoff games in his career. They've lost all 3. Doesn't matter that Mike Trout's been the best player in baseball for a decade. He individually can't even get the Angels to the playoffs because it's such a team-leading sport to where individual stats matter, but one player can't lift a team. Football, obviously, quarterback gives you the best chance to win, but we just saw with Deshaun Watson in Houston. Deshaun Watson had a tremendous year. He had a career year. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. But guess what? He had a career year, but the rest of the team was so bad around him, the Texans finished with one of the worst records in the game. So again, football, even though you had the most important position secured, even though you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL having a career year, that is still not enough to lift a crappy team to the playoffs. Basketball, you can do that. Basketball is the one sport where one individual can truly change the outcome of a team and guide them to the playoffs or be the reason why they lose. Right? The individual on the basketball court by far is the most single impact of any other player in any other team sport. So with that said, when it comes to rings, when it comes to championship discussions in basketball, a lot of emphasis, a lot of stress is put on, hey, did that guy win a ring? And more times than not, when we look back in history, right, we tend to elevate guys' careers that won a championship that maybe weren't as great. And sometimes we devalue, look down on players' careers that didn't win a championship, even though maybe their stats were prodigious, even though maybe they dominated during their time on the court. If they didn't win a championship, that does impact either positively or negatively, depending if they won one or not, how we view their career looking back on it 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now. So now Chris Paul finally, with all those tremendous individual accomplishments we listed, 11-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 9-time All-Defense out of 16 years, he now finally has a chance to put a championship ring. And I don't want to say validate because, again, it's ridiculous, right? Like Chris Paul's career is going to be one of the best to ever play the game, whether he wins a ring or not. But winning a championship for Chris Paul this year would truly, when we look back, help elevate him into the discussion of one of the best to ever do it, being a point guard. Now he finally has a chance to cross really the last thing off his list, right? He's made the finals. The one final thing, the one area on his resume not checked is winning a ring, and he is now 4 games away from checking that box. Awesome to see. And of course, though, right? Because it really hasn't been easy throughout Chris Paul's career. He's suffered some devastating playoff losses. His career hasn't come easy. And making the finals just this year hasn't come easy. Chris Paul postgame talked about basically how, hey, he made the finals this year, but the playoffs, just like his entire career, were a total grind.
First series, got the nerve thing, you know what I mean? Win the second series, end up with COVID. It's been a lot, man, and I want it not just for myself, but for everybody in that locker room.
So here Chris Paul kind of highlighting some of the difficulties that he went through throughout, this postseason. But let's even take a step back before we kind of look at just what happened the first 3 rounds of the playoffs for him. Let's not forget, this is a player who has come close to making the finals before and has unfortunately suffered some brutal postseason defeats. Let's go back to the Clippers, right? Lob City, Doc Rivers, Blake Griffin. They're 3-1 to the Rockets. Blow that in the Western Conference semifinals. Devastating loss. Then he gets traded to the Rockets, teams up with James Harden. 2018, you have KD, you have Steph, you have Clay. They're running through everyone. Well, next thing you know, the Rockets with Chris Paul and James Harden, they're up 3-2. 3-2 in the series, Western Conference Finals. Win one of the two games, you're going to the finals. And as you know, unfortunately, Chris Paul suffers a hamstring injury. Can't play in Game 6, they lose. Can't play in Game 7, they lose. The Warriors go on to the finals, go on to win that. Go to win the finals. Next year, even. The team wasn't as good, but you had, even in that series, evened up at 2 games apiece. Kevin Durant hurting the Achilles, missed the rest of the series. And even with that said, missing Game 5 or getting hurt in Game 5, missing Game 6, Rockets still couldn't come up clutch, still couldn't take down the Warriors. They lose. So again, you've had some brutal postseason defeats at Chris Paul's team where he's been close. He has almost slayed the dragon, but has come up short. It hasn't been easy. And even this year, he just mentioned it before, right? The first game of the playoffs, Suns-Lakers. He has that freak nerve injury where he goes up, his own teammate runs into his shoulder. He's in the back, his shoulder is hurt. He comes back, he still plays, but he's playing with one arm, right? He doesn't really shoot the ball. He's not shooting threes. He's more passing than he is trying to attack and hit the mid-range jumper. And that kind of did hurt the Suns a little bit. They fell down 2-1 before Anthony Davis hurt his groin, and from there, that changed the entirety of the series. Be it him dealing with the shoulder. Then when he seemingly gets healthy and the shoulder's not an issue, all of a sudden, boom, he finds himself in the NBA's health and safety protocols, diagnosed with COVID, misses the first 2 games of the Western Conference Finals, comes back a little bit slow, but does indeed finish the job with a flurry. Again, 41 last night. So not only is this poetic justice for Chris Paul, right, finally climbing the mountain of making the NBA Finals for the first time in his 16-year career, not only making the Finals, being the reason why the Suns go to the Finals. 41 points in Game 6 to close out the Clippers. 31 in the second half. Not only is that poetic justice for Chris Paul, it's also for the NBA. Because let's not also forget here, the main storyline of this NBA season has been injuries. Has been the devastating toll that injuries have taken on star players on essentially every team this postseason. And now you finally have a good story to root for. You finally have a feel-good moment in the NBA playoffs. Because really before that, the games have been fun. I have liked the parity in the NBA playoffs. But part of the reason for the parity is because of injuries and key injuries to big-time star players that have derailed series. Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid. Like, I can go down the list here. Every single team has suffered one devastating injury or not. That has kind of put a shadow, cast a shadow, if you will, over the playoffs. But now you finally have a feel-good story to root for. We finally have something nice coming out of this NBA postseason that is not an injury. That's not bad news. It's good news. So nice to have a feel-good story to root for. Congratulations to Chris Paul. Congratulations to the Suns. They are going to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1993. For the first time in Chris Paul's career, he will be on the NBA Final stage. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Who will meet the Suns in the NBA Finals? Bucks-Hawks game number 5 is tonight. Speaking of injuries, we just talked about injuries casting a dark shadow over the NBA playoffs. Giannis Antetokounmpo suffered that gruesome, scary, hyperextended left knee. His status for tonight's game, doubtful. Trae Young missed Game 4 with a deep bone bruise in his foot. Will he play tonight? We're not sure if he does play. How effective can he be? Both the Hawks and the Bucks have injury issues coming into game number 5 tonight. Who has the advantage? Wait, if both teams aren't with their stars tonight, who has the advantage? I have my answer. I'll tell you who it is when the Ryan Hickey Show does return on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at iWitnessBullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome in to the Ryan Hickey Show, or I should say welcome back in to the Ryan Hickey Show right here. Congratulating Chris Paul on making the NBA Finals for the first time in his 16-year career. Drops 31 second-half points, unstoppable from the mid-range at one point in the third and fourth quarters. He helps will Phoenix to the finals in the building where he truly had some of his best years with the Clippers. So the Suns, we know, from the Western Conference, are in the finals. Who will they be facing? Will it be the Hawks or will it be the Bucks? Well, right now, both teams suffering brutal injury concerns, right? The last game number 4, you had Giannis hyperextending his knee. Very scary moment there for the Bucks and really for any NBA fan. That was hard to watch. There is good news. Yesterday's MRI came back, and according to Woj, according to Zach Lowe of ESPN, no structural damage, which obviously is huge. The ligaments are all there, so no torn ACL. It seems like it was a hyperextended left knee, is similar to what Joel Embiid suffered earlier this year. He missed 10 games for the Sixers. So we'll see how much time Giannis will miss. He is listed as doubtful for tonight's game, which I do think is positive in terms of maybe hoping for a return at some point this postseason. I do think maybe it's just semantics. Maybe I'm making too much of this than really is there. But I do think that him being ruled doubtful, not out already, I think is a good sign for Bucks fans that, hey, maybe he doesn't play tonight, right? I think that would be a stretch. Maybe he doesn't play in Game 6, but if there's a Game 7, if they make the NBA Finals, there's a chance that he could play at some point. I don't think we've seen the last of Giannis Antetokounmpo in this postseason. So that's the Bucks side. The Hawks side, you have Trae Young, your best player, dealing with a bone bruise in his right foot. Missed game 4 when he accidentally stepped on the foot of the referee at the near end or end of third quarter in game number 3. Surprisingly, missed game number 4. So you have each team now with their star player compromised. Whether Giannis plays or not, whether Trae Young plays or not tonight, they both will be limited at best if they somehow end up on the court in game number 5. So who has the advantage, right? Because both teams are pretty much even in terms of their star player is hurt. Who has the advantage? For 2 reasons. Coaching, consistency. I give the edge to the Atlanta Hawks. I'll explain why. Let's start with coaching. Right? Because Nate McMillan, without argument, has done a tremendous job, not just in the regular season, but this postseason as well. And this team, once he took over in the regular season for Lloyd Pierce, this team had an attitude change. They had a swagger about them that you could kind of sense when they walk in the arena. No matter who they're playing, they feel like they can beat you. And we've seen in the playoffs, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's the Sixers, and now whether it's the Bucks. They walk into that arena every single game, despite the fact that they were the underdogs against the Knicks, underdogs against the Sixers, given no chance against the Bucks. They walk into the arena thinking, expecting they're going to win. They have that confidence that even though they're a young team, they're not intimidated by the moment. They're not afraid of going against Giannis or Embiid or going into, raucous Madison Square Garden. That confidence that they have used throughout this entire postseason that starts at the top with Nate McMillan is part of the reason why they are now just 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. And think about it, right? Again, this is a very young and inexperienced team. Outside of Clint Capella, the other starting 4 players have never played in the postseason. And despite that inexperience, they have gone into a rowdy and raucous Madison Square Garden. Weren't phased, played tough all 3 games they played. They won 2 of them. Then after they handle the Knicks, pretty quickly, they go into Philly. Sixers had the best home record of any team in the NBA this year. That's a tough task, right? Especially going against the number 1 seed. They have home court advantage. Okay, you're probably not going to win many road games. Maybe your goal is, let's just try to win 1. That's 7-game series. They played 4 road games. They were 3-1 in Philly. That's a team, again, not intimidated, going in there and being the aggressor, trying to be the bully. And they were. They did it to the Knicks. They did it to the Sixers. And they're doing it to the Bucks right now in game 1 and then again in game 4. So you look at, to me, coaching. I give the coaching advantage to the Hawks because Nate McMillan not only has gotten the most out of this roster, he's inspired confidence that right now, maybe it's cliche, but they are using that swagger and that confidence to help propel them to this massive postseason run. To where on the other side, you look at the Bucks with Mike Budenholzer, and there are times this postseason where the Bucks seem to be winning in spite of Bud. They really, honestly, for majority of the playoffs, don't play smart basketball. Let's not forget. Let's go back to Game 7 against the Nets. You're up by 2 points late in the game. You call a timeout with those 8 seconds left. There's 2 seconds left on the shot clock. You call a timeout. You drop a play. Brook Lopez gets the ball. Forgets how much time's on the shot clock. Just totally forgets. Big turnover that led to Kevin Durant making that insane turnaround jumper to send the game to overtime. Now, they won the game, but it's just small things like that where they don't play smart. They don't help themselves. They don't really adjust very quickly on both sides of the ball. It takes them a while to figure what the opponent is doing offensively and defensively to then make adjustments to try to benefit from that. And they're not. Honestly, let's call it for what it is. They had their moments, right? Chris Middleton in game 1 against the Heat with some huge clutch shots. Chris Middleton in the 4th quarter of game number 3, single-handedly propelling the Bucks to victory. Game 7, late in that game, they made a few shots more than the Nets to win that series. They have won some close games and played good in some close moments. But at the same time, they don't look comfortable. They're not a very good team in close games. They clench up. They tighten up. Their offense becomes out of whack. It all of a sudden turns into 1v1, which is not how their offense should be run, not how their offense is supposed to be run. But really, with the last 2-3 minutes of game, if it's one possession, whether they're up or they're down, they seem to kind of panic and go into a shell. And to me, that's on the coach. That is on the coach, whether it's preparation, whether it's calling out the right plays, whether it's just trying to calm the guys down. The lack of confidence, the ability for them to not, almost seemingly being afraid of the moment at times in a close game late, That's not something that inspires confidence. That's concerning, and that's on the coach. So for me, the Hawks have the advantage when it comes to the head coach. I would take right now Nate McMillan over Mike Budenholzer, especially now, again, when your number one players are out. That's truly where coaching in this postseason does come down and does have an impact. And how about consistency? The other C, the two C's, coaching and consistency. The Bucks have more talent, even if you take away the number one stars, right? Trae off the Hawks, Giannis off the Bucks. The Bucks are still a deeper and more talented team. But with that said, I'm going to steal a line from Forrest Gump here. The Milwaukee Bucks are like a box of chocolates. You never know what team you're going to get. We just kind of talked about their, inconsistency at times, playing, especially in crunch time. Sometimes they look confident and close out games. Other times they panic and look like they've never, been in the big moment before. They really, honestly, both team-wise and individual player-wise, this postseason, you never really know what Bucks team is going to show up. Like, there are games, we saw in the Nets series, the first two games, they couldn't hit a three to save their life. They couldn't hit water from a boat. Then there's games in that series, game 6 specifically, where they couldn't miss. Where they are an offensive juggernaut, where they're putting up historic offensive rating numbers. In that same series, even though coming off of game 4, you handle the Nets, tied up 2-2, Kyrie's not going to play, James Harden's on one leg, it's just Kevin Durant. It is the only healthy star in Kevin Durant, and you are fully healthy, essentially, outside of Dante DiVincenzo if you're the Bucks. They lose game 5 to, again, Kevin Durant and James Harden's playing on one leg. That was awful. That was a terrible loss. To their credit, they blow out the Nets in game 6, come back in game 7, a sloppy game, they win that game. And then game 1, come out a little lackadaisical. Game 4, without Trae Young, in a series, I should say, where Chris Middleton scores 20 points in the fourth quarter, you take a 2-1 lead, and now you're going to game 4 on the road with the Hawks missing their best player. And they came out flat. In the postgame, Mike Budenholzer talked about it. PJ Tucker was disgusted by basically the Bucks having no energy. This is game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. You win this game. You put the Hawks on the brink. You're going to the finals. They came out flat. They came out with no energy. I'm sorry, there's no consistency there. They don't give you a lot of, and they don't inspire confidence that you know on a nightly basis which Bucks team is going to show up. Because honestly, there's 3 different versions. There's the version where they are aggressive. Giannis is aggressive down low. They are working the offense. Giannis is getting dunks. Chris Middleton's getting open shots. Drew Holiday's moving the ball. And everyone's getting touches. Everyone's getting open looks. There are nights when everyone's playing hero ball. Giannis is taking the ball up, chucking up threes, trying to drive 1 against 4, missing shots, hitting, settling for mid-range jumpers. Chris Middleton's taking terrible shots. Drew Holiday's chucking up contested shots. There's that Bucks, where the offense looks discombobulated, looks awful. There's sometimes they meet in the middle where for a quarter, they'll play really well offensively. Then for 2 quarters, they'll go into a shell themselves. Fourth quarter, they'll come back. There is zero consistency with this Bucks team, especially on the offensive end, to where you don't know who's going to show up. And even individual player-wise, they're not exactly always consistent. Giannis is the most consistent Buck, but obviously with him not on the court, Chris Middleton, we sang his praises, and I still think he is the most important player for the Bucks if they want to win a title, right? If they want to get to the championship, Giannis is the best player on the team, but Chris Middleton is the most important because he is the closer of this team. But even with that said, he's had a very up and down postseason. If we just look and zoom in on this Hawks series alone, because I think this Hawks series does kind of encapsulate how Chris Middleton's postseason has gone. If we just look at the last 4 games, he has shot 26% from the floor in game number 1, 46% from the floor in game 2. Okay, a lot better. 57% from the floor in game number 3. And again, remember, he dropped 20 points in the fourth quarter. He was tremendous. And then last night, or I should say in game 4 a few nights ago, shoots 35% from the field. Up and down, up and down. There's no consistency. Some games, Chris Middleton's hitting all the shots and the offense is flowing. Other games, he is really inefficient, really struggling to knock down shots, and the Bucks offense struggles. Drew Holiday shooting the ball has been largely inefficient. So again, the consistency for Milwaukee isn't there. When you look at the other side, when you look at the Hawks, whether Trae Young's there or not, you know which Hawks team is going to show up on a nightly basis. This team plays hard every single night. They never quit. And more importantly, not only does everyone get involved on the offensive end, and we really saw that, taken to an extreme in Game 4 without Trae Young, also, just as important, every player knows their role, right? There's no player trying to play hero ball. We're in the Bucks. Sometimes you kind of feel like the Bucks forget what their role is. Giannis sometimes takes shots and takes multiple shots from 3, from 20 feet, from 15 feet, where that's not Giannis's game. His game is to be down low, dominate down low, and his presence near the paint can open up shots for others. Sometimes he tries to do it all and take the ball up and throw some spin moves and try to dribble and cross players up. That's not his game. Sometimes he forgets his role. The Bucks, you don't have to worry about that. Bogdanovich knows his role. He's a great three-point shooter. He always tries to find a shot from the three-point line. Clint Capella feasts down low. He lives by the rim. That's where he knows his bread is buttered. He doesn't try to do much else. John Collins this postseason has done a tremendous job every single series of doing the dirty work, crashing the offensive glass, getting rebounds, starting second chance opportunities for the Hawks, getting a lot of tough buckets down low. He's been great. Kevin Huerter has risen in the moment this postseason. Like, this Hawks team knows their role, and they take it to the extreme. They really try to play up and live up to what they're supposed to be doing. So you have consistency from the Hawks every single night. You, for the most part, know which Hawks team is going to show up, which player is going to do what. They know their role, and they're going to try to do it the best they can. Whereas the Bucks, there's just not a lot of consistency there. There really isn't. They are the more talented team. Don't get me wrong. Even without Giannis, they're still the more talented team than the Hawks. But the lack of consistency, where again, Game 4 is the perfect indicator. Up 2-1, you just won Game 3 on the road. The Hawks are without their best player. And you come out flat with no energy. That just kind of shows you all you need to know. Very inconsistent. And not to mention, when it comes to coaching, right? When you're missing your two best players now, or you're missing your best player on each side, coaching does matter. Coaching is very important when it comes to games like this, and I give the Hawks the advantage. Nick McMillan, to me, has been the way better coach than Mike Budenholzer this postseason, and that will help the Hawks tremendously. So because of coaching, because of consistency, tonight for Game 5, even if Trae Young doesn't play, I still think the Hawks have the advantage. I'm going to take the Hawks to win tonight's game. I think, you know what? The more I think about it, I think the Hawks are going to win this series in 7. Like, this is, a series where they kind of thrive late. They thrive in close games. That's when they play their best. Whether Giannis comes back or not and is limited, whether Trae Young comes back or not and is limited, I do think for the coaching and consistency, Hawks have the advantage. They will win this series. So I'm curious your thoughts. Game 5 tonight. No, most likely, Giannis is doubtful. He's not officially out, so we will see. We've seen crazier things in the NBA postseason where players look like they're not going to play and they do, and also vice versa. Giannis is listed as doubtful. Probably won't play. If he does, I don't think he'd be that effective. Trae Young missed Game 4, that deep bone bruise. I think he'll play, but how effective will he be? I don't think very effective. So each team is dealing with their number one star being severely compromised for the rest of the postseason. Who has the advantage? The Hawks or the Bucks? Love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. We'll get your thoughts, and when we come back, little game. What's the word? What is the word to describe Shohei Ohtani's June? The month of June has been incredible. Mississippi State makes College World Series history. Well, it really makes school history. How about the Clippers? Right? We talked about the Suns advancing to the NBA Finals. What should we determine the Clippers? How should we determine what their season is? And finally, a long time coming for college athletes. We'll discuss all of that when the Ryan Hickey Show returns. Right here. Where else? The Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Fifteen, 20 minutes from now, which quarterback has the most to prove in 2021? I think we have 4 candidates. I'll tell you who those candidates are and who the winner is, if you will, for the quarterback who has the most to prove in the NFL in 2021. 10-20 from now, about 45 minutes or so. 5 playoff teams, right? We're going to do a preview here every single Ryan Hickey show between now and the NFL season. NFL preview in one topic or another. I feel like I like lists personally. I kind of sucker for rankings and lists. So I figured maybe we'll do it as a top 5 list. So every kind of show, we'll do some sort of top 5 ranking here to kind of preview the season in a soft way. So how about for this edition, top 5 teams who missed the playoffs in 2020 that will make the playoffs in 2021. Now, obviously not every team's going to make the playoffs, but I'll give you my rankings of most likely for teams that missed the playoffs in 2020 that will make the playoffs in 2021. You want to get in on that conversation now? Please tweet the show at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Tweet us there as well. Or comment on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So before we get to that, we'll play a little game here. We've done this a few weeks ago, and I want to try to introduce some more. I think it's a fun little topic. Play a little game called What's the Word? Very similar, to other shows that have done this, but basically, hey, what is one word to describe a team, a player, a performance, an accomplishment? We have a few, because there's been a lot of news so far this week in sports. So let's get to it. What is the word? Let's start with Shohei Ohtani. Now, last night, of course, timing is not the best as he gets roughed up, doesn't make it out of the first inning, gives up 7 runs to the Yankees. But last night excluded, Shohei Ohtani's had a tremendous month of June. So one word I would describe Shohei Ohtani's June performance is centennial. Centennial. And here's what I mean by that. He is doing things we haven't seen since Babe Ruth, which is like 100 years ago. Shohei Ohtani right now, the baseball player, both pitching and hitting, we have never seen this since Babe Ruth 100 years ago. It is once in 100 years we are seeing kind of the performance of Shohei Ohtani. So guess what? We are the lucky ones here. We're seeing a centennial performance. Because not only is he pitching regularly and hitting regularly, right? Because remember, when he was with the Angels, he had arm injuries and they're kind of taking him slow. So this is kind of the first year where he is consistently hitting almost every day, pitching every 5th day, and in most cases, even last time we saw it, he will hit and pitch in the same game. Not only is he just doing both, because doing both is very impressive, right? In the major league level, that is unheard of. Where you pitch, you hit, you do both. No one does that. So not only is he just doing it, he's doing it really damn well. He is leading the major leagues in home runs with 28. He is 3rd in Major League Baseball with 63 RBIs. Crushing the ball, totally locked in at the plate. His last 14 games, he's hit 11 home runs, He is dominating at the plate. But not only that, he's also pitching really well. Now, again, last night is not exactly from a timing perspective the best, as he didn't make out of the first inning. The Yankees roughed up. His control couldn't be found. He could not throw a strike. But before last night, excluding last night, up to this point, he has pitched to a 2.58 ERA. He has hit himself more extra base hits this year than he has allowed hits pitcher. So he's had more extra base hits, more doubles, triples, and home runs at the plate than just total hits he's allowed as a pitcher. He is doing things that we haven't seen in 100 years. It is incredible. And if you're unable to watch, or if you maybe not as tuned in or locked into what Shohei is doing, he has become must-watch TV. And it's only June, so you still, or now I guess it's July, you still have half the year to make up for the lost time. Shohei, I'm telling you, every single night he pitches, it is must-watch television. And I just want to bring up this tweet really quick here, because this was something stats-wise the last 2 weeks that is honestly mind-blowing. I just want to very quickly, I promise, we'll read you the last 2 weeks' worth of stats for Shohei Ohtani, because this is mind-blowing. So his last 13 games, right, his last 2 weeks, June 15th, hit a home run. June 16th, hit a home run. June 17th, he pitched 6 innings, allowed one run, struck out 5, got the win. June 18th, the very next day, after he pitched, 2 home runs. June 19th, another home run. June 20th, another home run. June 21st, didn't do anything, he was off. Okay. Guy's hitting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 home runs. The last 5 games he's played and not pitched. Off day on June 21st. 0 for 3 on June 22nd. This guy stinks. Take him out. Pitches again on June 23rd. 6 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. He was off on June 24th. June 25th, home run. June 26th, 1 for 3. June 27th, home run. June 28th, home run. June 29th, 2 home runs. That, you can make the argument, is the best 2-week stretch of any player in Major League Baseball history when you factor in the ability that he not only crushed 11 home runs in 13 games, also pitched and made 2 starts in that time, 6 innings each start, 1 run allowed, combined for 14 strikeouts. That is insane. So get on the train now in case your head is buried in the sand. He is the MVP of the AL so far this year. What he's doing, we haven't seen in 100 years. Shohei Ohtani's June, but really his whole year, but June specifically, centennial. How about college baseball? Mississippi State last night, after dropping game number 1 to Vanderbilt in the College World Series, they win game 2, win game 3, they win the College World Series. What's the word to describe Mississippi State winning the College World Series? Historic. Because not only do they win their first first baseball national title in team history, not only do they knock off the defending champs in Vanderbilt, who won 2 years ago. Remember, there's no College World Series last year, so they are the defending champs still. Not only do they knock off the champs, not only do they win their first national title in program history for baseball, not only did they do so in Game 3 by roughing up one of the best pitchers in college baseball, Kumar Rocker, they did so by winning their first team national title in Mississippi State history. That's right. Mississippi State has never won a team national title in any sport before last night. They're one of 3 Power 5 schools to never win a national title in a team sport. Kansas State, Virginia Tech, the other 2, now cross Mississippi State off the list. They are national champions in baseball. I think Mississippi State has been around. The school was founded 143 years ago. And up to that point, football, basketball, baseball, softball, never won a national title. So congratulations to Mississippi State. That's awesome. Always love the new blood. Always kind of love programs like this, making history the way they did. The Bulldogs. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to their long-suffering fans who finally get to see their team on top for the first time in their lives. Historic. Mississippi State winning the college baseball, or the College World Series, I should say, first national title for a team sport in Mississippi State history. How about the Clippers season, right? It came to an end last time. We talked about Chris Paul and gave him a lot of praise, just praise, for making the NBA Finals for the first time in his 16-year career. First now, or I should say only 4 wins away from finally winning his first ring as a player. But what about the Clippers season, right? We gave the Suns their credit. But the Clippers battled to Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. What would we, and without Kawhi Leonard for half the playoffs essentially, how would we determine the Clippers season? For me, the one word I would use to describe it, successful. Honestly. I think the Clippers 2021 season was a success. Because obviously, they didn't make the finals, which coming into the postseason, that was the expectation. But given the circumstances, how far they got, I thought it was a success. Think about it. With Kawhi Leonard fully healthy, with Paul George fully healthy, they started this postseason by tanking to avoid the Lakers, matched up with the Mavericks. Immediately, the team they wanted to play, they lose the first 2 games on their home floor. Boom, down 0-2. I wrote the Clippers off, to be honest. I will be honest. Going into this year, I thought the Clippers would bounce back and win the title. Going to the postseason, I was a believer in the Clippers. After Game 2 on your home floor, where you tanked to go face the Mavericks, then lose the first 2 games in a row, and now you're going to Dallas, Game 3 down 0-2, I thought the Clippers were done, to be honest. They win those 2 games, go back for Game 5, lose Game 5 at home. Now you're going to Dallas with your season on the line. Credit to them, obviously, they overcome that. They win Game 6, they win Game 7. Then, the next series, you go against the top seed Jazz, go down 0-2 again. Then after you battle back in your home floor to tie that series up, Kawhi Leonard sprains his knee. There are some discussions from Shams Charania of The Athletic that it could be an ACL sprain or an ACL tear, or there's some damage there, and he could be out for a long time. He misses now game number 5, game number 6 with the series tied 2-2. Game number 5 against the Jazz, the number 1 seed in the West, with the team with the best record in all of the NBA. You're going to Game 5 on their home floor without your best player. They win Game 5, come back from 25 points down in the second half to win Game 6, eliminate the Jazz. They make their first conference finals in team history. Without Kawhi Leonard overcoming back-to-back 0-2 deficits to just get there. And even though you pushed the Suns to 6 games, even though you didn't make the finals, even though you didn't win the finals, I think because you lose Kawhi Leonard, because of the fact that you made the first Western Conference Finals in team history, I would deem this season a success. They got further than they did last year. I think they gained some national respect playing as well as they did without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, Game 5, to me, was a total shock against the Jazz, where I think every single person and their mother, even Kawhi Leonard's mother, I'm sure, Paul George's mother, I'm sure, wrote off the Clippers heading to Game 5 in Utah without Kawhi Leonard. And they were able to win Game 5, win Game 6, bounce the Jazz. To me, that is a very successful season. And we'll see next year they could put it all together, stay healthy, and win the title. But even though they didn't win the championship this year, they did make the first Western Conference Finals, and they did so for a large majority, without Kawhi Leonard. That is a success. And finally, today is a monumental day in sports. Not because it's Bobby Bonilla Day. We'll get into that in a second, actually. But no, today, July 1st, 2021 is historic for college athletes everywhere. Because now, starting today, any college athlete in any sport, in any state, is allowed to make money off of their name, image, likeness. Basically, they can market themselves. They get paid. Companies can sponsor them and advertise with them for being who they are. First time in collegiate sports, that athletes can get money from endorsements without being penalized. What's the word to describe that? Long overdue. There's a hyphen there, so don't, word police, grammar police, don't. It's one word. Long overdue. NCAA yesterday finally approved an interim policy that allowed players to monetize off of their name, image, and likeness. Because guess what? If the NCAA didn't do that yesterday, 12 states had laws go into effect today that would make punishment for players receiving money illegal by the NCAA. So they had to make everything, you couldn't have 12 states and 12 states making or being have it be illegal for teams and players to make money, and then have the other 38 states and the players there not make any money. So now everyone is on the same playing field. Every single player, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, softball, lacrosse, swimming, you name it, can now make money based on who they are. And this is a long, long, long time coming. And I remember going to school at Penn State. I was, I believe, a sophomore. This was 2013. I did a project and wrote a paper basically explaining the inequities of college athletics and truly what a scholarship meant. Because you hear full ride. I didn't go to school for a scholarship. I'm not an athlete. So, you kind of hear when you're getting a full ride, you think, okay, everything's paid for, no expenses, fine. But I wrote a paper back in 2013 talking to, Penn State professors, athletes, about truly what a full scholarship actually covered. It was not, first of all, as much as you thought. There was a lot of expenses college athletes still had to kind of pick up on their own that a full ride didn't cover. And with a lot of these antiquated rules, it was almost impossible to take anything. And it's so stupid. Like, think about it. We live in America, right? America is built on what? Capitalism. Those that have great ideas, those that have products people want to buy, those are the ones that are most successful, right? Basically, you control your own fate, if you will, to simplify it. If you could think of something, work really hard to do so, basically the money is limitless. You can make as much as you want, you can make as little as you want. Capitalism rewards the best workers, right? The best workers with the best ideas, the hardest workers, you name it. Capitalism is supposed to reward those who do things the best way. Well, think about it. Every single living, breathing American citizen in this country was able to be a capitalist except for college athletes. Think about it, right? In school, let's just say, if you're a member of the band in college, you were a tremendous drum player, you were a tremendous trumpeter, you're a tremendous drum major, whatever. You can get paid to give lessons. You can hold camps, right? For band camps in the summer. You can hold private lessons teaching kids. That's not illegal. If you are a scientist or a mathematician, you can get paid to give lessons. You can get paid by companies to come in and work for them while you're still in school. If you're a singer, you can get paid for gigs. You can go to bars and make money by singing. Guess what college athletes could not do? They were not allowed to make money for the skills that they have. They are literally the only people in this entire country where the rules did not allow them to make money for being who they are. You could not allow Trevor Lawrence to sign an autograph for $5. You could not allow Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa or Mac Jones, whoever you want to name, Johnny Manziel. They could not make any single money for being who they were, despite the fact that their schools in Clemson, in Texas A&M, in Alabama were making hand over fist millions and millions and millions of dollars marketing, advertising these players, having people drive hundreds of miles to come watch them play, selling apparel, selling jerseys, selling t-shirts. Every single person was making money off of Trevor Lawrence, off of Johnny Manziel, off of Tua Tagovailoa, off of Tim Tebow, except the players themselves. In what world does that make sense? It does not make any sense. So today, it's finally legal. Today is the first day college athletes can actually market and sponsor themselves and make money for being who they are, which guess what? That's how it should be. Salaries were never going to work. It was a dumb idea to start. This is the best way to do so. Let the market determine who makes money and who doesn't. Because guess what? I know people, it's kind of easy to point to say, oh, only the football players and basketball players make money. What about the rest of the athletes? Well, hey, guess what? There are plenty of universities, there are plenty of pockets of this country where football isn't the number one sport, or basketball isn't the number one sport. For example, being a Penn Stater myself, I can tell you firsthand, women's volleyball, when I was there, sold out every game. Men's volleyball, no one cared about. Women's volleyball was sold out every game. Wrestling, sold out every match. Those players, men and women volleyball and wrestling, would make a ton of money right now at Penn State for being wrestling studs and being great volleyball players. Softball, women's softball is huge. in parts of the country. UCLA is a juggernaut. Florida, softball juggernaut. Those softball players in Gainesville, in LA, are going to make money for being great softball players. It's not just football and basketball. There are plenty of sports, all different sports, where they are prioritized differently. Johns Hopkins, Duke, great lacrosse players, right? Great lacrosse programs, both men and women. This is finally a great opportunity for the athletes that people want to market, right? People that have big social media followings. They can finally make money. And it is long, long, long overdue. Congratulations. I am so happy for every single college athlete now in this day and age that you can finally profit off of who they are and not have the NCAA basically scam them with saying, oh, amateurism. Oh, you're a college athlete. The scholarship is enough. Stupid. Today's day and age, college sports have gotten too big. Maybe back in the 70s and 80s it worked. But now with how much money is in college football and in college athletics in general, TV deals, sponsorships, advertising, college sports has gotten too big. There's too much money where the players actually playing the game deserve a piece of the chunk or deserve a piece of the pie. Now they're getting it. Long, long, long overdue. Today's a great day in college athletics. A great day. So that's it for What's the Word. When we do return here on the Ryan Hickey Show in 3 minutes from now, 3 minutes, there are 4 quarterback candidates that have the most to prove in 2020. But which quarterback truly does have the most to prove this year? I'll tell you who it is when the Ryan Hickey Show returns in 3 minutes, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape? You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome in to the Ryan Hickey Show, hour number 2, as we go to 11 a.m. Eastern, coming to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a nice location near you. 15 minutes from now, 5 teams that missed the playoffs, or I should say top 5 teams that missed the playoffs in 2020 that will make the playoffs or could make the playoffs in 2021. We'll get into that as part of our NFL preview here on the Ryan Hickey Show does carry on. But before that, I saw an interesting tweet from Pro Football Focus earlier this week, and I think it's one to discuss. I think it's an interesting question. Now, if you tuned into Monday's show, or in case you didn't, I'll inform you right now that we started off this NFL preview by talking about the top 5 quarterbacks heading into 2021, who I think the top 5 quarterbacks will be this season. So we kind of talked a lot about them, or a lot of quarterbacks had a lot to gain, right? Who was going to have a great season? Who are we going to be talking about a ton? A lot to gain there. But what about if we look at the quarterbacks who have the most to lose this season? Because Pro Football Focus's question earlier this week was, which quarterback has the most to prove this season? And they threw out 4 candidates. Tua Tagovailoa with the Dolphins. Sam Darnold, remember now he was traded from the Jets. He has a new start with the Carolina Panthers. Carson Wentz, another quarterback traded. He went from the Eagles to the Colts. And Daniel Jones, entering year number 3. Danny Dimes, trying to hold on to that starting job, or maybe the Giants have to start kind of looking elsewhere for a new quarterback if he doesn't play well this season. So out of those 4, Tua, Darnold, Wentz, Daniel Jones, which quarterback has the most to prove this season? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter WWSRRun_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well if you want to tweet us there. Which quarterback has the most to prove this season? For me, the answer is Tua Tagovailoa. For 3 reasons. Where he was drafted, team pressure, 2021 expectations. All 3 of those factors, to me, add up and equal to Tua Tagovailoa having the most pressure on him to play well this year. He has the most to prove of any quarterback this season in 2021. Let's start with the draft. Right? Because if you look back, if you remember the draft of all 4 of these quarterbacks we're talking about, Tua Tagovailoa had basically a Trevor Lawrence-like college experience, especially when you compare it to Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones. Here's what I mean by that. We knew Tua Tagovailoa very early on, right? He's the Alabama quarterback, sits all year his freshman year, comes in at halftime of the national title game against Georgia. They bench Jalen Hurts. Tua comes in, throws the eventual game-winning touchdown pass in overtime as Alabama wins the national title on basically a walk-off touchdown. Ever since that throw, all of a sudden, we knew who Tua was. Going to the next season, a lot of hype. Oh, Tua's going to start this year. He's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Ever since he had that moment, his freshman year, throwing the game-winning touchdown in the national title game, we knew about Tua Tagovailoa. And since that moment, similar to when Trevor Lawrence burst on the scene in Clemson his freshman year, won a title, we were talking about, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the first overall pick in 2 years. We had that same conversation with Tua. He's going to be the first round pick. He's going to be the first quarterback taken. Remember, 2019, tank for Tua. It was a name everybody knew. And if you're a passive college football fan, if you're not a fanatic, you just kind of maybe watch here and there, you watch maybe the big game, you're not into it, you know who Tua Tagovailoa was when he was at Alabama. His elevated profile, the fact that everybody knew who he was, the fact that he started off with such a big bang in college, that elevated profile, I do think, brings more pressure when you're drafted. So I think now going to year number 2 after his rookie year, because Tua had such an illustrious college career, won a national title, had a great 2018 season where they made the national title game, did lose to Trevor Lawrence, and the next year was having a great year before he got hurt. That elevated profile, that attention he had from the start, I do think brings more pressure on you in the NFL to succeed compared to the other 3 guys where, look, Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State. There was no buzz about Carson Wentz as a prospect, as an NFL prospect, as a guy we were kind of legitimately could be a franchise guy until the draft process started. Similar to Trey Lance, right? Let's be honest here. Not a lot of people saw Carson Wentz play at North Dakota State. Not a lot of people saw Trey Lance play at North Dakota State. And that lack of visibility in college does kind of lower expectations because people don't know what to expect. For 49er fans, I'm sure, are hyped up for Trey Lance. Eagles fans are pumped up when the Eagles took and traded up to get Carson Wentz at number 2. But you're not watching Carson Wentz on a weekly basis in college. So there's still some unknown factor there that I think does lower the bar a little bit in terms of expectations. Daniel Jones, listen, he went to Duke. He was not really viewed as a legitimate quarterback prospect until really the college football season ended as well. Right? Like no one's talking about Daniel Jones. Oh man, this is a guy we should be watching. And we were locked into Duke football games to watch Daniel Jones light it up. That's not the case. And Sam Darnold, similar to Tua, kind of exploded on the scene at USC in 2016, won the Rose Bowl, won every single game after the first game he started. It was tremendous. But 2017, the team results weren't great. USC was never really in the national title picture, unlike Tua at Alabama. So sure, he had some good moments, and we knew about Sam Darnold, and he was a guy that we thought was going to go number 1 overall. But he didn't have that same level of, I want to say, fame in college that Tua did. So again, I think the elevated profile, the fact that we knew a lot more about Tua in college than any of these other quarterbacks, I do think brings more pressure on you to perform in the pros. Like the draft, the fact that he was, not only drafted number 5, but the fact that he had a very illustrious and popular college career, that does bring more pressure in the pros. Team pressure. Let's look, 2019. The Dolphins, if you remember, before Brian Flores kind of lifted them out of the ashes and prevented them from being a historically bad team, that was a team that was tanking to get a franchise quarterback. They were tanking for Tua as hard as they possibly could. They were trading any single player with talent. Anyone with talent possible, they were trading. So now you land Tua, you get him at number 5. So at the fact the Dolphins won a few games at the end of the year, we thought that doomed them. Well, as we know, that helped get Tua at number 5. And look, team pressure is going to be there because it was a rocky year, number 1 from Tua Tagovailoa. I think in part because he was force-fed into the lineup. When the move was being made last year for week number 8 where they announced Tua was going to be the starter, I liked the decision. I kind of was on board with the Dolphins. I trusted that Brian Flores knew what he was doing. Right? In benching Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy that was beloved by teammates who was playing decently well for the Dolphins last year. But then kind of as you saw him develop, he was a little skittish. He seemed hesitant. He rarely pushed the ball down the field. He was benched. Tua was benched 2 different times for Ryan Fitzpatrick last year. And then I think it's interesting that this offseason, right, a few weeks ago, Tua revealed that, hey, my rookie year, I didn't know the playbook fully. I wasn't able to really make many adjustments at the line of scrimmage. So there'd be times where the play would come in. I look at the defense. I know, okay, this is not gonna work. But the issue is I don't know what play to call. I don't know how to adjust and get out of the play to get to one that works. So we're just gonna run it and hope it works. Like that's awful. That shows he wasn't ready to play. That sounds like someone, instead of being kind of, in practice, really developed and ready to go, this sounds like someone who was force-fed. Whether it was Brian Flores, the head coach, whether it was Chris Greer, the general manager, someone in the organization said, hey, it's time to play Tua Tagovailoa. Let's get him on the field. Now, obviously, it seemed like he was not ready to play. So now, if there's friction there where some people in the organization wanted Tua to play. Others didn't think he was ready, thought it was too soon. And there's a little friction between Tua playing last year. Well, now that adds extra pressure for him in year number 2 to be a lot better. There's added pressure for him to know the playbook, know the checks, play well. Because, I mean, I don't think it's crazy that if he struggles in 2021, that the Dolphins would seriously consider bringing in someone else, whether that's a Deshaun Watson, whether that's a Russell Wilson, whether that's a Aaron Rodgers if he's not traded this offseason, whether that's trading up in the draft. And let's not forget, it was a brief conversation. I thought it was a stupid one, to be honest. But there was conversations about whether the Dolphins, when they had the number 3 overall pick in the draft this past year before they traded back, there was legitimate conversation. Should the Dolphins stick? Should they draft a quarterback? Whether it was Mac Jones, whether it was Justin Fields, whether it was Trey Lance. Now, again, that didn't last too long because they traded out of that pick. But there was a conversation of, hey, even after 1 year, should we pull the plug on Tua? So I think there is a lot riding on year number 2 for Tua Tagovailoa, where if he struggles, if he doesn't make big strides, if he doesn't show promise, I do think because of the friction that we kind of saw with how Tua was thrown into the lineup, you could say forced into the lineup last year and didn't play well, I think that adds friction to where, hey, if he struggles again, heads are going to roll and it could be Tua's as well. So to me, that also, the team pressure of Tua needing to play well, I think does add to the reason why he has the most to prove out of him, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones. We look at the other 3 candidates. All right, Frank Reich with the Colts has pressure to develop Carson Wentz. It's on him. He kind of signed off on the move. He advocated for the move for the Colts to trade for Carson Wentz. He had him in Philly. He was the offensive coordinator when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, when Carson Wentz was going to win the MVP before he got hurt. There's pressure on Frank Reich to basically develop Carson Wentz and show that 2020 was an anomaly, that Carson Wentz is truly better than what he put on tape last year. But the Colts bought low in terms of a 3rd-round pick and a conditional second that turns into a first, that if Carson Wentz stinks, if he shows that, hey, 2020 is not an anomaly, and instead that's who I truly am going forward, I can't get back to the 2017 MVP level that I showed, it's not the end of the world. I think the Colts will cut bait after year 1, and he's gone. And the Colts, to me, are a well-developed team that they aren't relying on Carson Wentz to solely lift them to the playoffs like the Eagles did the last few years. So I think there's more pressure on Frank Reich, to be honest, to develop Carson Wentz than there is on Carson Wentz to play really well and resurrect his career. Daniel Jones, I mean, look, that pick, including by yours truly, was mocked. When the Giants said went number 6, I think there are such low expectations for Daniel Jones that, hey, you know what, even if he doesn't play well, the Giants are still developing a team, and they're building now offensive pieces around him. Saquon Barkley returning. They signed Kenny Galladay. Then you know what? If Daniel Jones isn't the guy, they'll just go somewhere else. I don't think it's really sweat off the organization's back if Daniel Jones struggles this year and they got to cut bait. Remember, this head coach was the one who drafted him. Dave Gettleman did, and if Daniel Jones struggles again, Dave Gettleman could be out of a job. So that's, where there's not a lot of team pressure, for Daniel Jones to do well. It's more on him to do well. And Sam Darnold, this is a very, very, very low-risk, high-reward play for the Panthers. It's similar to, you make the argument on a little lesser extent with Carson Wentz and the Colts. If Sam Darnold can't show you that, hey, the Jets, really kind of turned me down, I am better than what I showed on tape in New York, and I do stink out, I'm not really the guy. Well, the Panthers ball low to where it's a flyer. They ball low, try to, get a huge reward. But it's one of those things where, all right, if he doesn't play well, Matt Rule said, all right, thanks for coming in next. Organization's not going to sweat about moving on from Sam Darnold because he stinks after 1 year. But I do think there's a lot of friction and a lot of pressure on the team for Tua to play well, to where if not, it's going to get ugly, and really some big moves could be made this offseason if he struggles again. So because of his college success and the notoriety he had in college, because of the team pressure that is kind of weight and is on Tua to succeed, not just for him personally, but also because there are some big ramifications if he struggles, and also 2021 expectations. Like, maybe this is just me, but I feel like Tua, out of those 4, out of Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, Tua Tagovailoa, Sam Darnold, Tua Tagovailoa has the highest expectations of any of these quarterbacks listed. And I don't know about you. For me, I think the Dolphins will be a playoff team this year. They've improved their offense. They added Will Fuller, which hopefully he can stay off the drugs and stay healthy to be on the field. They drafted Jalen Waddle. And I do think because of how much he struggled with reading defenses, with how much he struggled with the playbook and not really knowing it, I do think we will have a big year, or a big leap, I should say, from year number 1 to year number 2 for Tua Tagovailoa. I think he'll play well. I think Dolphins will make the playoffs. But when you look at expectations for the other 3 quarterbacks in this conversation, what are your expectations for Carson Wentz? As a Colts fan, I'll tell you, I think Carson Wentz will play well. I do think 2020 will look like more of an anomaly, more like more of a one-off, if you will, than be the norm, than be the pattern going forward. But so I think he'll play really, pretty well in Indy. But with that said, I'm not going in there expecting Super Bowl. I'm not going in there expecting MVP. I just think I'm hoping he can just play well like Philip Rivers did last year. That's it. And I think it's a pretty low bar to clear considering when you look at the offensive line is a lot better than you had in Philly. The running game's a lot better than you had in Philly. The receivers, I would say, as a whole are better than we had in Philly. The head coach is better than he had in Philly. The defense is better than he had in Philly. The last 2 or 3 years, the Colts roster is better than what they had in Philadelphia. With that said, it's kind of, you're buying very low with Carson Wentz, where 2020 was so bad that I do think he'll play a lot better, but expectations aren't Super Bowl or bust, aren't MVP or bust. Just kind of, hey, I think he'll play well, but it's kind of, if he doesn't, see you later. My expectations aren't that high for Carson Wentz. Daniel Jones, what are the expectations, Giants fans, if you're listening? To me, the expectation for Dan Jones here, just keep your job. That's the only goal for him. I don't think playoffs is going to happen this year. Your only hope, your biggest expectation is Daniel Jones can show that he's a quarterback. For the future, that's about it. And Sam Darnold's a reclamation project. I don't expect the Panthers to be playoff contenders in 2021. I think at this point, any signs of life that he can show that New York wasn't truly who Sam Darnold was, I think is a win. So when you look at expectations, I still do think Tua has the highest expectations because out of Carson Wentz with the Colts, Daniel Jones with the Giants, Sam Darnold with the Panthers, to me, the Dolphins are the only one where I expect them to make the playoffs. Now, I'm picking the Colts to make the playoffs. I think the Colts will win the division. If they don't, okay, I'm not exactly, crestfallen. If the Dolphins don't make the playoffs, I will be surprised. So 2021 expectations, team pressure, and draft notoriety for me, 3 reasons why Tua has the most to prove in 2021. More to prove than Carson Wentz, more to prove than Sam Darnold, more to prove than Daniel Jones, more to prove than any other quarterback listed, not listed here. Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, we can go down the list here. Matt Ryan. I think Tua Tagovailoa of any quarterback in 2021 has the most to prove this season. Do you agree? Do you agree? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Does Tua Tagovailoa have the most to prove of any quarterback in 2021? Love to hear your thoughts. And when we come back, speaking of something to prove, 5 teams last year to make the playoffs that missed the playoffs the year before. I'll tell you who those 5 are in order, of course, when the Ryan Hickey Show returns on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat.
or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show on this July 1st, a big day in the sports world. Not only for the first time do college athletes get to profit off of their name, their image, and their likeness. They can sign sponsorship deals. They can companies can advertise, and they can be spokespersons. I think spokespersons. English is not a strong suit of mine, so my apologies. Ironic, I know. But now athletes can, in short, make money for who they are. Long time coming, and now every athlete in every state can now finally profit off of who they are. Very long overdue. Very happy for every college athlete. So if you're on Twitter, if you're on social media today, all of a sudden you see the quarterback for Alabama or the great basketball player at Duke sponsoring, an energy drink or telling you to download this app or partnering with this meal company. Don't be alarmed. Do not alert the NCAA because there is no more infractions here to be had. And they are finally allowed to do so. And it is long, long, long overdue. So that's one reason why July 1st is significant today. Also, on I'll say more playful note, it is also baseball fans' Bobby Bonilla Day. Now, as a Mets fan myself, I'll be honest, I used to hate Bobby Bonilla Day. In case you aren't aware or you forget, Bobby Bonilla used to be a former Mets player, former Major League Baseball player, but former Mets player specifically, where in 2000, the Mets owed him to be on the team $5.9 million. Now, they instead wanted to make another move. So instead of paying him that $5.9 million, they thought, let's buy out. But instead of giving you basically the lump sum of $6 million right now, we want to defer the payments. We want to wait. So we will pay you, Bobby Bonilla, $1.1 million every single year starting in 2011. We'll take it to 2035, 25 years. We'll pay you $1.1 million if we can defer your $5.9 million salary. This is back in 2000. So every single July 1st, started in 2011, is going to go on for another 14 years until 2035. Bobby Bonilla will make $1.1 million. Now, I used to hate this as a Mets fan myself because it's always a day where classic Mets, they're so cheap. Look how dumb they are. Like especially when the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme happened and the Wilpons, the Mets owners at the time, were caught in it big time and lost a ton of money. Like this was something that was always a joke. It was always, the Mets are so cheap. Hey, got to pay Bobby Bonilla's contract so we can't sign another outfielder because guess what? Bobby Bonilla on July 1st getting that $1.1 million. He's on the payroll. So it's always a joke. I will say though, now that there is a new owner, now there's some fresh blood, now that the Mets are rich, like screw it. The Mets are rich. If the Mets are rich, I'm rich. Steve Cohen, the new owner, I feel like I'm rich even though I haven't gotten a cent. Now it's, hey, the $1.1 million for Steve Cohen, that's pocket change. That's no big deal. So I hope, and I think the Mets should embrace Bobby Bonilla Day going forward. Invite him out to Citi Field every July 1st. Make it a big ceremony. Almost kind of make it a one big joke. Have him throw out the first pitch. You know, they have those oversized checks when someone wins Jeopardy or someone wins the lotto or you win a race and there's that big, huge check. They should do that. 1.1 mil. Hey, Bobby Bonilla, here's your check for the year. We'll see you next year. Every July 1st at Citi Field should be Bobby Bonilla Day. Have him out there, make a few jokes, bring him out, first pitch, give him the big giant check. A little mockery to the former owners of the Mets, the Wilpons. So I've kind of changed my tune, to be honest. Bobby Bonilla, good for you, man. Not only, first of all, very savvy businessman. What a deal. Turned 5.9 mil into basically 26 and change $1 million. That's a pretty damn good investment. Now, you're always in the news. For 25 years, your name cycles once a year. And hey, it's good for you. If you were in college right now, your name, image, likeness, July 1st would be a very popular day for Bobby Bonilla. He can make a ton of money advertising and marketing. So just a thought here. Mets, that's free advice for you. Steve Cohen, if you're listening. Sandy Alderson, if you're listening. Maybe Luis Rojas, the manager, if you want to throw some out there. There you go. Bobby Bonilla Day every July 1st. So congratulations to you, Bobby, and celebrate, enjoy it. I don't know what his routine is. If it was me, if I was getting $1.1 million every single year, what would I do to celebrate? Like, I'm not a champagne guy. I think champagne's kind of gross, to be honest. So I would not pop a bottle of champagne. Maybe buy a nice bottle of, I don't know, Johnny Walker or something like that. Just kind of crack it open and just relax. Have yourself a day. Get pretty bombed. Hey, 1.1 in the bank. Not a bad day, that's for sure. So we'll get into now our NFL preview, right? Between now and every single show, or really every show up until week 1 of the NFL season, we'll preview the NFL season in one way or another. Try to make it fun, try to make it interactive, try to make it a little different. So I figured maybe top 5 lists are kind of the best way to do so. So we started off top 5 quarterbacks heading to 2021. We did that on Monday. For today, I want to do top 5 teams to make the playoffs who missed them last year. Who are your top 5 teams who will make the playoffs you think this year that missed out on them last year? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. Number 5 for me, I'll give you my list in 5 to 1. We already have some tweets coming in as well. I'll read those as well for you. Number 5, I have, pains me to say it, I have the Patriots. I do have the Patriots because honestly, I'm not a big believer in what they did this offseason. But with that said, when you look at teams who didn't make the playoffs last year, they are in as good a spot as most, or some, to actually make a jump from not making the playoffs, going in 7-9 last year, to making the playoffs this year. Like, I will give Bill Belichick this credit. I don't think building through free agency is the way to do it in the NFL. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it works. And that's what the Patriots did. They went on a spending spree. They went on a frenzy. This offseason, signing every available free agent possible. I will give Bill Belichick this respect. He recognized a weakness of his, which was drafting, right? Let's be honest. He has not drafted well these last few years. A lot of misses, especially early on in the draft. First-round picks have not been his specialty. So he realized, okay, if I'm not going to build the core of the team through the draft, I got to do something different. I can't just keep on repeating the same cycle of hoping to get players right and missing. Definition of insanity. So he said, you know what? I'm going to do something different. And he went the free agent route. So I respect that Bill Belichick changed up and realized, hey, I'm not good at this, or I've struggled at this. I haven't had much consistency. I'm going to do something different. So I think that kind of could work in the Patriots' favor. I think that you still have one of the best head coaches in the game, right? Bill Belichick is, I have him at number 2. I think Andy Reid right now is the best coach in the NFL. Number 2 be Bill Belichick. Mac Jones, you read some reports, seems to be progressing pretty quickly and catching up to Cam Newton already. Which I've said this before, I'll say it again here. If Mac Jones isn't starting week 1, that should be a concern about Mac Jones. Because there's no reason why Cam Newton should be starting over him. The strengths or the advantages, I should say, Cam Newton has over Mac Jones, familiarity with the system, right? Kind of knowing the players, knowing the playbook. That's what Mac Jones' strengths are. The mental side of the game is what made him so good at Alabama last year. Reading defenses, anticipating, knowing the playbook, calling out audibles. The mental side is what Mac Jones does so well. And that's what Cam Newton has the advantage on, because physically, we saw Cam Newton last year was not good. He can't throw the ball. His accuracy, is inconsistent. So he's not going to physically hold off Mac Jones. It's having that advantage mentally that I think Mac Jones already, reports coming out of New England, he's catching up on. So Mac Jones will serve as an upgrade to Cam Newton. So when you look at the Patriots, I think they'll be in the mix for the third wild card spot. Now, I don't think for all, to be transparent, I don't think the Patriots can make the playoffs. Like, not every team I'm listing here is going to make the playoffs. Just not physically possible. There's not enough teams because there's still a ton of good teams I think that made the playoffs last year that will be back this year. But if we're looking at the teams that have the best chance, that missed the playoffs last year, that will make the playoffs this year, Patriots to me are number 5. They'll be right in that hunt for the third and final wild card spot. Number 4, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Big year, I think, from Justin Herbert's coming, right? Because you look at just what he did last year as a rookie, winning Rookie of the Year, throwing 31 touchdowns, just 10 interceptions last year. Now you look, okay, so he was able to do that. Now going into 2021, the offensive line is improved. They had one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line last year. Well, they signed Corey Linsley from Green Bay to anchor the offensive line at center. They drafted Rashawn Slater. So already, boom, 2 massive upgrades on the offensive line just like that. They have a ton of talent on the defensive end. Joey Bosa's a stud. Knock on wood, you hope Derwin James is healthy and can play a full year. Chris Harris is solid. Kenneth Murray is solid at linebacker. This is a very complete team. This team, offensively, defensively, has a ton of talent on there. Now, I think they are going to make the jump from a team that missed the playoffs this year to make the playoffs, or missed the playoffs last year, make the playoffs this year. They can absolutely make that jump in year number 2 for Justin Herbert. So teams that missed the playoffs last year have the best chance of making the playoffs this year. Patriots 5, Chargers 4. Number 3, I have the Cardinals. And to me, like, the talent for the Cardinals, the reason why I should say they're number 3, not higher on this list, it's not about talent. Like, they have talent that equates to a playoff team. Kyler Murray's a stud. I am a big fan of Kyler Murray. I like his play a lot. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think he uses his legs or relies on his legs, I should say. That kind of worries you. I think Kyler Murray is a very good quarterback. We'll keep on developing. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers in the game. You add depth behind him in A.J. Green, Christian Kirk. We'll see if Larry Fitzgerald, his future is still up in the air. We don't know if he's going to retire. We don't know if he's going to come back. If he does come back, well, he's not, Larry Fitzgerald of old. He's still at least a solid fourth receiver. It's pretty damn good to have Larry Fitzgerald as your 4th option on most plays. Chase Edmonds is good enough as a running back to get it done. Rodney Hudson, welcome addition to the offensive line this year. That, will help anchor them as they slowly get better in year number 3 of Kyler Murray in the center. I mean, defensively, they're solid. Like, they're, I'll say, at least decent on all 3 levels of the defense. And you look at the defensive side of the ball, it's not going to be the reason why they lose this year. Their defense is good enough. They just signed J.J. Watt, which I think right now his name is more, or he is more a name than substance at this point. But hey, it's still a nice way to kind of shore that D-line. Defense won't be the reason why they lose this year. For me, the biggest concern I have with the Cardinals, the biggest reason why they are not number 1 or number 2 in this list is 2 words: Cliff Kingsbury. Their head coach worries me considerably. And I'll be honest, I am not going to pick the Cardinals to make the playoffs. I'm not. I think they'll be right there in the conversation, just like they were last year. I can't trust Cliff Kingsbury to finish strong to get this team in the playoffs. He does it everywhere he goes. He starts off decent, starts off hot, and crumbles down the stretch, collapses. If he was running a race, he would be leading the race halfway through, and then pull a hamstring, fall down, run out of gas, and then finish like 10th out of 12. Like, that's who he is. Last year, again, I can go through the list, and I think I did this, I believe it was earlier this year. Gone through every single year-by-year team start and finish with Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach, whether it's Texas Tech or whether it was the Cardinals. Last year, I'll just give you last year. Started 6-3, had a lot of momentum going on. They finished 2-5 down the stretch. I know Kyler Murray was hurt and didn't play in the last game against the Rams. They lost to John Wolford. Week 17, winning they're in the playoffs, they lost that. So, struggling, staggering down the stretch, that's what Cliff Kingsbury does. That's his MO everywhere he's been a head coach. So the talent for me is there for the Cardinals to be a playoff team. The head coach isn't there for the Cardinals to be a playoff team. So they'll be in the mix. Again, that's why they're number 3 on this list. A lot of talent. The head coach is the reason why they're not higher on this list. Patriots 5, Chargers 4, Cardinals 3. What are your top 5 teams that missed the playoffs in 2020 that you think will make the playoffs in 2021? Number 2, I have the Miami Dolphins. I think the best way to explain this team, the best way to sum up how I feel is that the whole of the team is greater than the sum of the parts. Because you look at the roster, not a lot of sexy names, not a lot of big-time names that stand out to you when you look at a roster like the Chargers, when you look at a roster like the Cardinals. Like, if you think about it, last year especially, Tua Tagovailoa, we just talked about him. The quarterback with the most to prove in 2021. Part of the reason why he has so much to prove, last year he struggled. He was hesitant. He was gun shy. He didn't really push the ball down the field. He was benched twice. He struggled. The run game was MIA. It was non-existent there in Miami. They really struggled to run the ball. The receivers were either hurt or ineffective. And all of that added up to still going 10-6. Like, think about it. Quarterback was benched twice. No run game. The receivers, the skill talent between running back, tight end, receiver was the worst in the NFL. It was terrible. They still went 10-6. So now you look at this year, they add Will Fuller, who has his own question marks if he can stay on the field, but if he does, you have Jalen Waddle. You add those two guys to Devontae Parker, who is a solid receiver when healthy. The offensive line is more experienced. They're starting to come together. I do think Tua will feel more comfortable in year number 2 than he did his rookie year. Secondary was dominant last year. Xavier Howard couldn't throw a pass by him. He was intercepting them left and right. Maybe that regresses a little bit, but I still think the defense will be very solid and be the leader of this team. So I do think the Dolphins add it all together and make the playoffs. This is a team where, again, you can't look at the roster and say this is a playoff roster. But I do equate it to Brian Flores, the coaching, the culture that they have there. Add it all up, I think the whole of the Dolphins is greater than the sum of the parts. That will equal a playoff appearance this year. So if I have the Patriots 5, Chargers 4, Cardinals 3, Dolphins 2, the team I think is most likely to make the playoffs this year that missed the playoffs last year, the San Francisco 49ers. And let's look at it. Forget just, looking at rosters of teams that missed the playoffs last year that are in this conversation this year. The 49ers have one of the best rosters in all of football when they're healthy. They have one of the deepest and most complete teams when they are fully healthy compared to any other team in the NFL. Think about it. Last year, despite the catastrophic injuries that they suffered to the running backs, to the offensive line, to the offense, to the defense, they still had a very good running game despite the injuries they suffered. The wide receivers they have in Deebo Samuel, and now I'm blanking, I apologize. But the receivers are very solid, The offensive line is elite. Very good offensive line. Look at defensively, Joey Bosa, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. Like, the defense is really damn good. And Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know how much he's going to play this year. I think he will definitely start the year. I think if he plays well, he might even finish the year. But this is a guy, even if he gets replaced halfway through or 3/4 of the way because Trey Lance is just so much better, Jimmy Garoppolo is still 22-8 as a starter with the 49ers. He's still a guy that helped lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl and was up by 10 points against the Chiefs in the fourth quarter. And this is, you look at the roster, a majority of the players I just listed and talked about were on that roster 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. So I'm taking, I guess, a risk and a gamble that, hey, the injuries won't be as catastrophic, won't be as numerous this year as they were last year. So I do think the 49ers are going to have a big year. I think they are making the playoffs. To me, they are the number one team on this list that missed the playoffs last year that will make the playoffs this year. 49ers, really good. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSR Ryan_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. We do have some tweets that I'll read on the other side here, because there's one team I omitted. We had one tweet where the number one team my guy Brian Tripp thinks is going to make the playoffs that missed last year, I don't even have in the top 5. So I'll tell you what team he wants, and we'll discuss that team as the Ryan Hickey Show closes out here at the top of the hour, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome into the Ryan Hickey Show, or welcome back in, I should say. We are going here for a few more minutes. Top of the hour here on this Thursday morning. There will be no Ryan Hickey Show next week at all, either Monday or Thursday. A little family vacation going on, going up to Lake George for the week. Should be a lot of fun. Wi-Fi is awful up there, so don't think the show would even get on the air if we tried. So little vacay. We will be back July 12th. So don't worry. I hope you have a great July 4th weekend. Hopefully you won't miss me too much. I'm sure you'll totally forget. I hope you remember that the show's still on July 12th. That's really my bigger hope. So little vacation, no Ryan Hickey Show next week. This will be the last show up until July 12th. We'll be back with you there for sure. So we just talked about the top 5 teams in the NFL that missed the playoffs in 2020 that could make the playoffs in 2021. My list, in case you just tuned us, welcome in. Patriots, number 5. I have the Chargers at 4, Cardinals at 3, Dolphins 2. My number 1 team, I think, that will make the playoffs this year that missed it last year, the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers. So I told you before the break, we had one tweet from my guy Brian Tripp, love Tripp. He gave his top 5 teams. The number 1 team he listed, I didn't even put in my top 5. He had the Cardinals at 5, Chargers 4, Dolphins 3, 49ers 2. So a little different order, but we both had the Cardinals, we both had the Chargers, both had the Dolphins, both had the 49ers. He doesn't have the Patriots. He has another team, and he has this team listed at number 1. That team is the Dallas Cowboys. He thinks the Cowboys, who obviously didn't have Dak for a majority last year, missed out on the playoffs. He had the Washington football team at 7-9 win the division. He thinks the Dallas Cowboys are the most likely to make the playoffs in 2021 that missed it last year. So 2 things about the Cowboys that I disagree with them being number 1, and the reason why I didn't even have them in my top 5. Number 1, this is more personal for me. I am done believing in the hype of the Cowboys. A few years in a row now, I have gotten burned looking at just the roster themselves, looking at Dak, looking at the receivers they have, looking at the names on the offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott, looking at some of the names they have on defense, and saying, okay, this team, the sum of the parts is really good, right? Again, you hear all these marquee names and these great players. Okay, this offensive line is really good. Zeke Elliott, a big-time running back name. He should be really good. Dak Prescott should be really good. Amari Cooper, they just added CeeDee Lamb. Like, the receivers are really deep and really good. Some of the big names on defense, really good. So in 2018, I was a believer in the Cowboys. 2019, I was a believer in the Cowboys. For some of 2020 before Dak got hurt, okay, Cowboys will win this division. But guess what? Now, 2020 is a little tough because Dak got hurt, so I'm not even going to hold him, get that upset. But 2019 especially, the Cowboys were a way better team than the Eagles. And Tripp should know he's an Eagles fan. Despite the fact that the roster inequity really did favor and the talent imbalance favored the Cowboys, they still lost every big game they played. Did lose to the Eagles in Philly with basically the division on the line, as the Eagles with Carson Wentz and not much else, especially a receiver, won that division. So the first reason I'm not believing the Cowboys is that I am done looking at this roster and saying this should be a playoff roster. Because guess what? They haven't come up and they haven't really equaled how good they should be and really match out with how good they actually are the last few years. So the hype train has been with the Cowboys. This roster is really good. I believe it was Pro Football Network, if I'm not mistaken, had the Cowboys as number 10 in their power rankings this year. On paper, the Cowboys look like one of the most talented teams in football. I'm not believing it because they rarely actually live up to that potential the last few years, recently. So that's number one why I'm just kind of not believing the hype. For me at this point, the Cowboys, I have to see it before I believe it. I have to see the Cowboys add it all together. I have to see Mike McCarthy coach his team really well. I have to see the Cowboys and Dak Prescott play really well against good teams and win games against good teams consistently before I believe in them. So that's number one. Number two, I like the Washington football team. I think also, I guess three reasons. Number two, I think the Washington football team is going to win this division. I do. Even with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I was more of a Taylor Heineke. Hey, give him a try. He played decently well in the playoffs. Let him maybe have a shot at earning the job. It's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick's job to lose. And I think it is Ryan Fitzpatrick's job here for week number one. But he's a guy that, as we know, consistently is up and down. Now, he has had fewer downs and had a little more ups in Miami the last 2 years. And he's kind of maybe evened out the roller coaster a little. But again, solid quarterback. I think that'll be enough. I mean, again, the Washington football team won the division last year. I know they're 7-9, and injuries kind of benefited them as well as a little bit of a seesaw ride last year. That defense is elite. I really like the skill positions. They're starting to get better. The offensive line is building. They signed Curtis Samuel. They have Terry McLaurin there. Antonio Gibson, when he's healthy, was a really solid running back last year for the football team. I do think, they won the division with Alex Smith, with Taylor Heineke, and with Kyle Allen. I do think that Fitzpatrick is enough to help them win the division. And number three, I don't think they're going to get a wild card. I think you'd have a team like the Saints getting one. I think the NFC West could have three teams in the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers. So I don't think, there's going to be a lot of wild card spots up for grabs that the Cowboys could get. So for them, to me, it's division or bust. I think the NFC East is a one-team league this year in terms of getting teams in the playoffs. Just one team, the division winner. So I am really not believing in the Cowboys as much as my guy Tripp is. That's why I don't have him. He has him at number one. I don't have him in my top five. Not believing in it until I see it. Don't think they'll win the division. And I don't think they'll get a wild card. So his, again, top five. Cardinals 5, Chargers 4, Dolphins 3, 49ers 2, Dallas Cowboys number 1. Teams that could make the playoffs in 2021 that missed last year. For me, again, my list one last time. Patriots 5, Chargers 4, Cardinals 3, Dolphins 2, San Francisco 49ers at number 1. So that will do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. Appreciate all of you who tuned in and started your Thursday morning with us, have an early, happy July 4th weekend. Make sure to have a blast. Oh, man, I love July 4th. What a great weekend. Hopefully summer slows down from here, but definitely do love a July 4th, one of the best weekends in all the summer. Have a great and safe holiday weekend. Again, no show at any point next week. No show next Monday. No show next Thursday. Little vacation. We'll be back July 12th to break down everything in sports. So have a great week, great weekend. Stay safe. Stay sane. We'll talk to you July 12th, as always, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.